Hi, everybody. It's Jared here with Heat Press Nation, and this is the Customizing Culture podcast. I'm super excited to have our very special guests today. We have Mike and Seak from Squad Creatives Podcast. How you guys doing today?
Good, man. Pleasure to be here, man. Pleasure to be here. Appreciate you.
How you doing, Mike?
Mike Tees. I'm part of the Squad Creators Podcast. You can find me on all social medias at Mike Tees. We've been doing this for a minute. We're trying to get out there to the world.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm super excited to have you guys here. You guys have already had some really, really big names on the podcast. Some really great info just out there for the community. But before we dive into the podcast story, I'm super curious as to like your individual stories. So maybe Mike, we'll start with you. Like, how did you get started in the t-shirt industry?
So about 2018, I was working, a regular 9 to 5 job. I actually liked my job. I was building rectifiers for Power Electric Company. And raise time came and they just wasn't talking the right amount of money for me. I had been in there reading electrical blueprints, trying to figure it out. I was building 3 to 4 rectifiers in a 2 weeks period where it would take the regular person, one rectifier every 2 weeks. So I had surpassed that. So when you told me that I'd be stuck at $11 an hour, I was like, no way. There's no way. Started browsing the internet. Ran into a lot of the greats on YouTube and other social medias and said, I'm going to give this a try. My first package I actually got through you guys, the Heat Press Nation package. And that's how I got into it.
Sick. And then Seek, how did you get started?
Ironically, it started with Heat Press Nation on accident. So
there we go. Oh, on accident. Okay. I got to hear this.
I'm going to tell you why. Because a friend of mine, we used to talk about doing t-shirts in the 90s. Never got into it. Fast forward. So I'm telling my wife I want to check out t-shirts. So I start studying and trying to figure out what I need. And I found with Heat Press Nation, y'all had the package deals. And so I would just go in there and wish shop. And then I put in a cart.
Yeah.
And at the time, like money was kind of tight. So I was like, I'm going to use the Affirm. So I would put it in the cart to see how much payments would be each month and stuff like that. And the last time it was like, oh, your order will be here Tuesday. I'm like, oops.
You clicked too far.
Yeah. So it's early in the morning, and I'm at work on a Sunday morning. I'm like trying to figure out how to cancel the order so my wife ain't mad at me for spending this money.
Right.
And so about an hour later, she calls me on her lunch break, was like, I said, well, if some t-shirt equipment shows up at the house on Tuesday, it wasn't me. And she was like, what do you mean? So I tell her the story how I accidentally did it. She was like, you wanted to do it anyway, so just keep it. And the rest is history.
There we go. And it worked out. Now, what year was that when you bought the equipment?
17 or 18, 17, I think.
Okay, so you guys both got your start kind of around the same time then, 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
And Mike, you're coming from where again?
I'm coming from Canton, Ohio, the Hall of Fame city.
Canton, Ohio. Nice. And then Seek, you're coming from, I think you said Portland. What part of Portland?
I live in Eugene, Oregon. Originally.
Eugene.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. See, that's how Californian I am. I'm thinking Portland is the state. No. It's like how people say, hey, what's the capital of London? And it's like, no. London is the capital of England. So
Portland is definitely.
So right out of Eugene, Oregon?
Yeah, Portland is definitely the one people think of when they think Oregon, though. First.
Got it. So Eugene, that's closer to the California border, right?
No, actually.
Or do I got it backwards? I have it backwards.
We're about, I think it's about a couple hours away from the California border. We're about an hour.
After this, I'm gonna go take my U.S. geography course all over again. I got to take that all over again. I'm messing up. I'm messing up all over the place here.
I live here, and I can't answer. So.
But it's interesting to me. So you guys are from like opposite sides of the
Yeah.
country. So now tell me the story. How did you guys meet up? How did you guys link up? How did Squad Creatives get started?
Um,
Wow.
so I used to do YouTube, and I always see this guy comment, Mike T's, Mike T's. Every video I drop, Mike T's, Mike T's.
Yeah.
So one day I was like, let me go check out his YouTube channel, subscribe, and start following him, commenting back and stuff like that. And then I was sitting out on the back porch with my wife, and I get this phone call, and it's Mike T's, and we just been talking ever since. You know,
Yep.
So just like that.
yeah, straight
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Never been a shy moment, really. And
So Mike, so then what made you want to reach out to Seek?
he was doing a lot of great things at the time. We were both learning the industry. We were seeming to watch the same people,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like either I would leave a message, you will heart it, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, we right on the same, eye level as far as it comes to this industry. And just kept corresponding. What made me reach out to him initially is I think I wanted to purchase a shirt or something he had came out with. And you can comment on somebody's video, but if you have them as a friend on any of the social medias, reach out. You know,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of them people that's gonna reach out. I want to talk to you. I want to see how you doing. So pretty much that's how that went.
And what year was that when you guys first became like friends?
Man, that was
2019,
I
19.
want to say 2019.
Yeah.
2019. Okay. Oh, okay. So this is pre-pandemic. All this so far, we're pre-pandemic here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So 2019, guys link up, become friends, and then Squad Creatives. How did that come about? Because like I got friends here in the industry. I don't have podcasts with any of them. All right. So they're guests. They're guests here. They come and they hang out. And they talk to
Yeah.
me. But I'm not starting stuff with everybody. So and I say that because to me it's like if you're gonna go into any sort of business, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a print shop, if you're going into business with somebody, it's because you like them, you guys are on the same wavelength, you both have similar goals and stuff, but there's also a certain level of like trust
yeah.
that's present there. So pre-pandemic 2019, you guys are linking up. And so then how does the podcast come along?
See, go
Um,
ahead and start it off, bro.
so me, I'm a talker, man. Like, you know what I mean? So I can talk to anybody and everybody. So I'm like looking for different content to put on my YouTube channel. So, and at the time, Squad was a collective of us, a few people, and some people that are no longer work with us anymore. But it was five of us, and so
Oh, okay.
I came with the idea to interview them. And then, so
Yep.
once
Mhm,
I interviewed them, it was like I did it it was like a phone interview though, and
mhm.
so that's what really kicked it off. And then we started a Facebook group. Called Mike like, man, I'm gonna start this Facebook group. Started a Facebook group, and then it just became a thing for us to get on. And every week, I think it was on Saturday at the time, and then every Saturday and just talk to the people. And that was a, really the birth of Squad Creative Podcast. We've been
Yep.
through several phases in this, but that was the birth.
Yeah. So, question. So, you say you started off with five. Some people are no longer there. Is it just you two
Yeah,
now? Are there any other members of the squad?
nah, just us two. They
Yep.
those other three people, I've been seeing one of them like showing his face recently, but the other two just they don't even do the business anymore, as far as I know.
Oh, okay. Oh, so they got out of
Yeah, I
t-shirts.
think so.
Yeah. All together.
Okay, right on. And you guys are both Mike. I know you obviously have business going. I see somebody pressing in the back there.
Yeah.
You're in
Yeah, yeah,
it.
yeah. So, that's I gotta take my hats off to Seek right now. He deals with a lot of craziness in my craziness schedule as far as, moving around trying to get these podcasts secure. But this is absolutely when I was invited to be a part of the podcast, I felt it in my heart. I felt it in my soul, like, okay, this is gonna change. things for me. This is going to change the trajectory of my future. And I didn't really know it until after we started getting overwhelming responses from people about the
Mhm.
show and how much it was needed in the space that we're in. So, with that being said, when I got the invitation, I ran with it.
Yeah, man.
Nice. I love it. So, and then what I love about the podcast is it's real open about like the information that's shared.
Yes.
So like where is that kind of, is that intentional? Is it talk about whatever we talk about, and if it's helpful, it's helpful? Like what's kind of your philosophy besides the philosophy that goes into each episode, you know?
I think
So,
I'm gonna let him go first because we approach it differently.
Oh, okay, yeah.
yeah, so the basis of the show is to get the information out to the people. It doesn't matter how big or how small, so long as the information is there and it's obtainable and it's something that you're actually living in. A lot of times, Jared, you may describe something that you're doing and it relates to everybody except for a few. But I could then, in the same sense, say the same thing that you just said, and a lot more different audience gravitate towards what I said. So we have a nice
Yep.
balance, Seek and I, as far as how we approach our guests and the questions that we ask them. We do our researches and we take our notes, so to speak. But
So
I love it. And then Seek, like what about you? Like what kind of goes into every podcast episode from you?
for me, Mike is more methodical, more like he'll sit down and he'll have notes. He'll research like, man, this person in 2015 had Big Urchin clothing brand. Like, but me, I go in as a child. Um, I get the basics. I go, I know they heat press, I know they sublimation, I know this, but I want to go in with my questions unanswered because I want to feel like the audience
Mm-hmm.
member, if that makes sense. And
100%.
I
Yeah.
make I feed off the conversation. So you'll see me like come with these questions and then I'll just get interested in what they got to say and I just start drilling them. But this is all because I'm just feeding off of what you're telling me now. I don't like to do the research unless I have to. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that goes back to not liking school. But like,
Yeah, but it works though. It works because it makes for such a really good
mhm,
dynamic. I mean, and it's cool because it's two of you guys. When I'm doing the podcast, it's just me. It's like a one-on-one,
yeah,
so it's a little bit different. I have to play both parts. I have to do my research and then ask, kind of on behalf of myself, but also on behalf of the audience, get questions that I don't know. So I think it's really cool how you guys can split that up and makes for like, and from the episodes that I've heard, like it makes for like a real dynamic podcast. So it's really cool.
yeah.
So are either of you guys full-time print shops, or is this side hustle territory for you?
full time for me. I'm in it knee deep, 24/7, 7 days a week. So,
Nice.
print is life for me.
Now you mentioned, actually I don't know if we got this recorded or not, because I know we were talking a little bit before the episode, but you mentioned that you were unhappy with one job and then you're like, nah, and then you went to heat pressing. Did you go straight to your t-shirt shop, or did you continue working for a little bit while you built up the shop?
For me, I started in that basement. It was all about that basement and vinyl. Vinyl is my first love. If don't nobody know, everybody should know. The world should know. But
I love vinyl.
HTV and I have a special relationship, so to say. Unfortunately, I have figured this out throughout the years. It's not as scalable as some of the other print methods out there in the industry. So with that
Mhm.
being said, you have to adapt and you have to, move with the times so you can stay relevant. So,
So
right now we're dibbling and dabbling in some direct to film, but ultimately we do want to
Okay,
stay with
nice,
all
nice,
print methods. So
nice. So how long have you been full-time print?
full time print since 2020.
Nice, nice. And Seek, how about you? So Seek, are you full-time printer, or are we part-time?
I'm a I don't know. I'm more part time based on.
Okay.
So I told you this off camera, but I lost my leg in
Mm.
2021 due to an
Sorry to hear
allergic
that, man.
reaction to
Yeah.
COVID, and I still haven't quite bounced back. I'm still in rehab. I'm still learning how to walk, still getting my strength back. But I haven't like really pushed a lot of narrative about me pressing, doing custom T-shirts and stuff like that. But what I do is daily. I create graphics daily. So I'm trying to teach.
Okay,
I'm
nice.
self-teaching myself to be a graphic designer. That's my goal, and I have pushed. I fell more in love with Squad Creator Podcast than I have with pressing T-shirts. To be honest, I feel like I like doing the
Nice.
T-shirts, but I feel like the podcast for me has more meaning, has more impact on legacy, has more impact on the world. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you're able to reach way more people. Not downplaying print in any way. I do both. So I'm full time here at Heat Press Nation. Well, I I try to be part time with printing.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest. I have my printing has just been way down lately. And then there's the podcast, and yeah, like for as much as I love the satisfaction of turning in a completed print to somebody. They get their shirt, they get their
mm,
mug, and they're like, dude, this is
yeah,
sick, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, sir. Like that's a really satisfying feeling. But also, like I'm blessed to be able to be like making content here at HPN, because then people like, hey, dude, because you, I got my business started. I just made my first 100, just made my first 1,000, just made my first 10K. Like
yeah,
that is really cool to get back. So I totally get where you're coming from. Like, just hey, you just want to impact people. I mean, in this life, there's so much more than money. And I know none of us do this for charity, right? Like we all got to
yeah,
put food
man,
on the table, but
Right.
you
yeah,
know,
man.
yeah, really definitely got to look at it from the business side. So that's really cool, man. So let me ask you this, and this one might be a little bit more for Mike. Of course, you guys could both answer. Like, so you have the stress of running a print shop. Like you have the work, you have the effort that goes in, or for graphic design, you're learning your programs, all of that. So you have life is stressful as enough, and then you add on content. Now you got
Yeah.
a podcast to create. Like, how do you guys balance all of that? Running the shop, learning the graphics. I mean, Seek, you said going to like rehab, physical therapy.
Yeah.
Like, how do you manage all of that? And now you add a podcast to that.
Wow.
Um, the podcast for me was the way I stayed out of the deep depression, out of not being able to move on. Man, it kept me
Yeah.
moving, to be honest. So it's like it was the fuel for me. I was literally in the hospital, fresh out of surgery, and going on the show. And then like I go back and I look at that particular episode, and I didn't realize how weak I was until I watched that episode, but I needed that to keep me going. Without that, I would have sunk deep into my mind, and I don't know if I would have made it out without this podcast. To be honest,
Wow, that's
that
incredible,
kind of
man.
teared me up a little bit.
It's yeah, man. I'm getting all touched over here, dude. That really is something. I think it's amazing how, and this is one of the many things I love about our industry.
Hmm.
It's not just a t-shirt.
Nah, not at all.
It's not just a t-shirt. It's not just a podcast. Like, it's
Not
so
at
much
all.
deeper. Uh, I mean, and not to get like too romantic about t-shirts, but even like with t-shirts, like so my brand, it's all about tacos. Like legit, my
Yeah,
whole that's it. It's
that's one of
tacos,
my
right?
favorite
Mhm.
things in the whole wide
And,
world.
yeah, right, dude. So I'll be wearing my shirt. Okay, my favorite. The reason why I even started my brand was I wanted to wear cool shirts to the taco shops,
Wow.
because
Yeah,
when you're in line, you just see somebody say, hey, that's a dope shirt. So when I'm in line, like I don't, for as talkative as I am here, I don't talk a lot.
yeah,
Like if I'm out in public, I don't, to the person in front of me, like, hey, what are you gonna order? Like that's not
yeah,
me, right?
Yeah.
But what's cool about t-shirts is like you wear a cool shirt to the taco shop, dude, you got friends
yeah,
instantly.
yeah,
And so to me, it allows me to connect with people. And I think t-shirts and this business, it's I love it. It's not just a business. It means so many different things to so many different
yeah,
people. I love hearing how the podcast was that for you.
yeah,
Mm.
So I mean, Mike, I don't know what's your take on this, man.
So my take first and foremost is the print industry is a family as a whole. You we lean on a lot of different, people for a lot of different things. And I feel like this industry, this print industry, is something totally different than anything there is out there. When it comes to this podcast,
Yeah.
that's my brother right there. So every moment that he was going through it, I was going through it, just trying to keep a brave face because, like he said, at point in times when he was taking shots from the hospital, shout out to Nina, his wife, she was giving us actual pictorial of his situation right then and there. And it was very, 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 very strong, but C kept persevering. He kept pushing through as if nothing ever happened. I mean, from the time up until surgery to the time right after surgery, he was back on the air, cracking jokes with us,
Wow.
talking with us, and reassuring us that it was going to be okay. So that right there solidified, the love that I have for this podcast. Because before, okay, this is something we're doing. We're talking to people. Yay, you know, we're getting their journey out.
Yeah.
But after I seen, the sacrifices that my brother made, it was like this is just more than just a podcast. And
Yeah.
we had a whole troop of people rallying behind us as well when Seek went through that. And they were always asking questions for the episodes that he didn't make. Is he all right? How's he
Come on.
doing today? How's he feeling? And we always come back and answer it either in the next episode or by comments. So as far as the time management with the print industry, the podcast, the traveling, and everything else that I do, I can honestly say right now it's up in the air. But I am working towards one goal, and that one goal being to unify this podcast and keep pushing the agenda with this podcast so we can get to the next level, open up some new doors, and, ultimately dwindle down that schedule that I do have.
That's awesome, man. I love it. Man, I like what you said about how this print industry, it feels like a family, man. Like, that's one of the cool things about it is like, dude, I've worked in a lot of, so I haven't always been at Heat Press Nation, right? I've worked in a lot of different industries, FedEx. I've done a lot of call centers. There's no call center podcasts,
Seriously, was
man.
kicking our boxes at FedEx.
Yeah.
We was kicking our boxes, man.
Hey, I never kicked a box, but I did witness many box kickers. All
Yeah.
right. I always keep, I answer to higher power, so I'm not trying to kick nobody's box. But
Yeah.
but man, the Lord, he steadied my hand a few days. Didn't let me kick any boxes, but I witnessed a lot of box kicking. It's unfortunate. I would say no offense to FedEx, but I don't care.
Man.
Probably the worst place I've ever worked in my whole life.
Man. Oh, that's all. See, you trying to get me to go off on a tangent right now, man.
I see. I'm totally sorry. Was I going? Oh yeah. So, anyways, I've worked at a lot of places in my life. Right. There's no podcast with people who just love to work at FedEx. There's no podcast of people who love to work in a call center or as bank tellers. Our industry is super unique because it really fosters this camaraderie.
Yeah.
Like how you guys met. You guys are just two dudes in the same business, right? There's not a lot of other businesses that are like that. And that's something I guess maybe I take for granted. I don't even know if I've publicly acknowledged it on the podcast, but like I am really grateful for the camaraderie, even quote unquote competitors.
Yeah.
Like people who run different channels, like there's Heat Press Nation, there's a few other channels, people who sell heat presses and vinyl. And like, yeah, we're technically competitors, our businesses, but like if I see them at a trade show, I'll say what's up, or they'll say what's up to me. Like it's cool.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think that's really something that's really unique about our industry. Why do you guys think that is, though? Because I still haven't figured it out.
I think it's the fact of, for one, creators. Man, creators are very special people, if you ask me.
That's so true.
And everybody, as a creative, man, we make up a very diverse way of life for people. And I think it's just the fact that we have the ability to mold from nothing is what helps the camaraderie, because I'm trying to get this out. I'm stumbling on my words, but I think it helps with the camaraderie.
That's good.
Because of the fact that we want to know what the next person's thinking, because that's how we're going to get inspired. That's what's going to motivate us to create our next great thing. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah. Are either of you guys musicians by chance?
Man, I used to think I was a rapper once upon
No, don't say he used to. He got some heat. He got some heat.
All right, all right.
Listen to Seek Success. Yeah, he got some heat.
a.
I don't play with you.
I, as he's saying that, I'm thinking about like, because you're saying creatives, like the only other community I've ever felt like this in is in music. I'm a musician. I play guitar and drums mostly at church now.
Okay.
But yeah, other musicians, like that's typically the only other place you find this kind of this kind of camaraderie, this kind of brotherhood.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, Mike. What are your thoughts on that, man? Why do you think this industry is the way it is? Just really great people.
It's so there's two ways to look at it. There's gatekeepers and there's those that expose the information.
I already don't like one of those people.
Okay.
So.
One of those is definitely a deterrent to the industry, and they're there. They're hermit crabs. But the fact that we're open, I can't speak for everybody's experience. We're open to actually talking about what has happened, what is going on, what is new, what is cultivating, what's the fastest, the newest trends, what excites people, even the things that we know that people don't like. As I spoke earlier, I love to do vinyl, but a lot of people hate weeding vinyl. So that's the first deterrent. We're not going to mess with vinyl. We're going to run right to DTF because there's no weeding. So those intricate settings and being able to bridge the gap in between creator, business, and audience. It's I'm almost at a loss for words. It's definitely something that we do humbly, but the message is always there, and we try to, make sure that we're giving out the proper information to those that need it. From beginners or people that's been in the industry for, 40, 50 years.
Yeah, man.
For sure. Yeah, we got kind of deep there. I wasn't expecting to go down that path in this podcast, but talking to you guys, like it's really just kind of opening up a part of my mind where I'm realizing things about this industry. I'm like, you know what? I feel like I've really taken that for granted a lot. And I feel like I want to apologize for darn, I guess I haven't really acknowledged it. But man, there's really, really cool people. I've definitely met amazing people in this industry.
Yeah, man.
And even in the comments of videos, you see, there's always weird people. It's YouTube, right? So there's gonna be dumb comments. But also you go to the comments and say, oh yeah, this helped me do this, there's one time I used to be many moons ago.
Yeah.
I used to be in tech support, right? Here at HPN, I was in tech support.
Wow.
And there was this one dude, we helped him out, and he couldn't figure out his graphic design, right? And me, I have a background in Photoshop. I know a little tiny bit of Illustrator. And basically, I knew what he needed. It's not something that we do. If you guys call tech support today, you guys, we're not going to help you with your graphic design. We don't support Illustrator, all right? We'll get your cutter working. We're not going to help you design anything.
Yeah.
But basically, I felt bad for this dude, some old dude. And so I really quick, it took me 11 minutes. I fixed up his artwork, sent it to him, and he was able to cut the layers properly and do his thing. A few weeks later, he emails me that graphic was for a fundraiser, and I forget how much. It wasn't a ton of money, but it was over $1,000 that he just on his own he was able to raise for the veterans in his area.
Cool.
Wow.
And so it's dang, that's. I'm not saying that to pump myself up or nothing. What I'm saying is that people who use our services and people who learn from you guys how to make t-shirts, sometimes it's a business, but sometimes it's deeper than that. Sometimes it just goes beyond, and so you kind of don't really know the impact that you're making. And I'm talking about you two. Sometimes you may not even know the impact until later on, and I love that. I thrive on that. I love the idea that somebody could take what we're sharing and go make some money, go bless some people, go have a good time, take your kids to Disneyland with your t-shirt money, whatever, man. So I love that. And I'm really loving talking to you guys today because I feel like it's feeding me. I'm getting blessed right now. I'm man, really appreciating what I get to do for a living. So yeah, it's good stuff, man.
Yes.
And likewise.
Yeah,
definitely.
So Squad Creatives got started when you guys were both getting started. As a result, I know a lot of your guys' content on the podcast is about getting started. I feel like that's the hardest part for someone with a new shirt business is getting started. So, what kind of advice do you have? Someone's out there and they don't even know, they don't know vinyl from DTG or nothing like that. They just say, "Hey, I want to start a shirt business." What kind of advice do you guys have for them?
So
Research.
let me start this one off. The best advice I could give to anybody that's looking to get into the print industry and have multitude of questions and don't want to spend a single dime just quite yet, Squad Creative Podcast. We've interviewed so many different people in so many different walks of life, from the beginning to the ending to the I want to say the decade champions, like the 40 to 50
Mm-hmm.
year old companies, and you know, get a feel for what it is that you want to do. You kind of want to niche it down in your audience. That's also another gem. If you can find, like, for instance, the episode with Big Brando that we just did a couple weeks
Mm-hmm.
ago, he was talking about his city, referencing his city. You know, he's popular
Yes, yeah.
around his area. You know, from doing
I
the
love Brando.
graphics. So
Yeah,
shout out to Big Brando. Definitely a mentor, definitely a pillar of the community, and great interview on Squad Creative Podcast. But if you're looking to get into the industry, that's definitely where I would start.
we make people accessible over there. So wherever level you are, you can find an episode that's gonna match or motivate you to where you want to be or take you where you want to go. Because there's no, we don't. For lack of a better word to say, we don't discriminate. We just tell stories. You
Yeah.
know.
I love it. Just telling stories. Man, that's and I love because you guys are breaking it down real simple, but the truth is when people listen, it's like it is just so much so making the complex things
Yeah.
simple, unlocking it all for people. I love what you guys are doing over there at Squad Creatives. What's really cool is that so after this, I'm actually going to record a podcast with you guys.
Yeah.
So
Man.
you guys look for me on the Squad Creatives podcast. By this point, my episode with you will already be up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if anyone's watching or listening to this, like I'm already over there, and then you guys, well, they'll look out for
Yeah,
you
man.
over here. It's kind of cool how that works,
Yeah,
right?
man. That's cool.
Yeah. So before we go, I gotta ask you guys, what is one final piece of like parting advice, some wisdom for the customizing culture podcast listeners and viewers? What can you guys just impart and share with them right now?
Research. Uh, always,
Research, I love
always
it.
just research and learn, man. Don't settle because somebody sold you a course or somebody said I have a graphic or sell. Research, learn, teach yourself daily. Um, grow. It's cool if you want to buy a course all the time or you want to go buy a pre-made graphic or something like that, but the best way is to learn and become you. Find your own voice, find your own style, and
Love it.
just be creative. And watch
Dude,
out.
I love that. That's gold.
Right on.
That's gold right there. Mike, what about you?
Consistency is key. And on this road less traveled, you never know where you'll end up at. For example, with the Squad Creative Podcast, we're aiming to reach bigger heights. So, with that, I say we've been very consistent in the last 4 to 5 years as far as the podcast, the printing, and everything else that we do. Um, Tunnel vision. But don't forget about those little small doors or those little small people that helped you along the way to get to where you're at.
Can I say something before we go, man? I got this Cameo 3 right here,
For
right?
sure.
And this is part I'm on and leaned out the frame, but I got this Cameo 3 right here, and this is part of the package deal that I got from Heat Press Nation. I want to say you are the first person to show me how to use the Cameo. Here's
Yeah,
a
thank
little
you, man. I
video.
love it. At, at home, I still have my Cameo 3. So I got started with a Cameo 2 like 7
Yeah.
years ago. But then on Christmas Eve, I was gonna do some last minute gifts because I'm Mr. Last Minute, right? And so I had it on a high shelf and it fell, and we had concrete floors
Oh
at the
wow.
time, just busted. And so after Christmas break, I came back and I got my Cameo 3. So I'm still running a Cameo 3. And that means a lot, man. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for saying that. You guys, man, Seek, Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you guys. I can't wait to dive deeper into this
For sure.
story on the Squad Creatives podcast, which we're going to be recording right now. If you guys are watching this, this is Customizing Culture, the Heat Press Nation podcast. Do me a favor, go back over, head on over to Squad Creatives and check out our episode and their library of other great episodes. Of course, we have lots of episodes of Customizing Culture here on our YouTube channel, on Spotify, Apple Music, and wherever else the podcasts are. Mike and Seek, I really want to thank you guys so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in a minute. To everybody else, adios.
Thank you. Appreciate you having us.